Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to be doing just a little bit of revision on addition and subtraction of like terms, right? So as you can see, we're going to have to group all the like terms. Let's start with example 1. Example 1, I can clearly see that 2x has to go with 4x and it also has to go with negative 8x, right? So you take the coefficients. The coefficient there, it's 4. It's 2, my bad. And then the next coefficient was plus 4. The next coefficient was negative 8. So I'm going to get an answer for that. So you're going to say, so we're going to get 6 minus 8, which is negative 2, right? And then we do the same thing with the other numbers. So let me just remove that. Here we're going to have negative 2y plus 7y. So we only take the coefficients. It's going to be negative 2 plus 7. I know that should give me 5, right? And then you do not forget to include the variables, right? The variable for the first one was x, and then the variable for the second one was y. So you just combine the whole thing. It's going to be negative 2x plus 5y. That's how we do it. And then we go to the second one, right? The purpose of this activity is to identify all the like terms. Identify all the like terms. For the first one, I can see that 5xy has to go with what? Negative 4xy. We take the coefficients. The coefficients are all the numbers that are in front of the letters. The number that is in front of the letter is called a coefficient. So we just take the coefficients. So it is 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4 will give me 1. And then you do not forget to write down the letter. And I can also see that this one, 5pq, obviously goes with what? PQ. Now we also know that there's an invisible one there. And then we go ahead and we take the coefficients. So the coefficient for the first one was 5. The coefficient for the second one was negative 1. Then 5 minus 1 will give me 4. And then not forgetting the variables. And then you just combine the whole thing to get 1xy plus 4pq. It's really as easy as that. It's not complicated at all. Now, on example 3, as you guys may see, we have brackets. So according to board mass, I have to deal with the brackets first. Before you do anything, just deal with the brackets first. So that means that this negative, this negative that is here, I'm going to have to multiply the negative inside, right? And then this positive, I'm going to have to also multiply it inside and just continue with the question. So let's start here. I know that negative times negative must give me positive, right? I didn't do anything to the 5ab, so you just write down the 5ab as is. I haven't touched it. The only thing that I did at this step was just to multiply the negative inside. So that will give me positive 2ab, right? Now I have a positive. This positive, I must multiply the positive and the negative. That will give me negative 3pq. And then also I didn't really do anything to this one. It stays negative 3pq, just like that. And then I combine my like terms. I know that that will go with that. I combine, so that will give me 7ab, all right? And then I continue to these two. I know that you must be careful with those two, right? So the coefficient here, you must be very, very, very careful. The coefficient there, it's negative 3. Or let me just use a pen. Right? The coefficient is negative 3. And the coefficient there is also negative 3. So that means that if you actually combine these two numbers, I get negative 6. I know most learners, when this thing is actually written down like this, it confuses most learners. And then most learners actually write down 0. And then it's not 0. It's negative 6. Integers. So this will be negative 6 PQ. Right? Okay. Here's another example. Board mass. I have to multiply. Before you can add and minus all the like terms, board mass. You have to multiply before you can add or minus, right? So now I know that there's a 2 there. Let me just try and zoom in. There's a 2, a positive there. And then I also know that there's a positive there. So as I always keep telling you guys in class, that when we are actually multiplying, multiply the signs, multiply the numbers, and then multiply the variables. The variables are all the letters. It's any letter. Any letter, whether it's X or Y, you call them variables. So now I have negative, I have positive. That will give me negative. I'm done multiplying the signs. I go to the numbers now. With the numbers, I have 4 times 2. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Right? Okay, good. So I have a, I know that if there's no exponent, I just put 1 there. I have a to the power of 1 times a to the power of 2. So I know that that has to give me a to the power of 3. How do I get 3? 1 plus 2 gives us 3. Okay, and I'm done with the first one. Let's go to the second one here. I'm going to say negative, this negative that is there. I'm going to say negative times positive. Negative times positive. I know that has to give me negative. And then I'm going to say 3 times 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6, right? The a does not have an exponent, I put a 1. The a also does not have an exponent, I put a 1. So a to the power of 1 times a to the power of 1 gives me a to the power of 2. So now, these are not like terms. The reason why these two terms are not like terms is because on the left-hand side here, I have 3 a's, and on the right-hand side, I have 2 a's. So it's not the same. When someone has 3 apples and another person has 2 apples, those two people don't have the same number of apples. So you cannot, in terms of algebra, you cannot add because they are not like terms. For these two terms to be like terms, they would have to have the same number of a's. They would have to have the same number of a's. Yep. Okay, let's go to the last example. BODMAS again. BODMAS. I know that outside it's a positive since there's no sign. Look at this now. I'm going to say this positive times that negative. This positive times the negative has to give me what? Negative. Good. Now, I'm going to say 3 times 2. 3 times 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6, right? And then here I have a times a. I just hope you guys are actually noticing the order in which I'm actually doing all these questions. I multiply the signs. After multiplying the signs, I multiply the numbers. And then when I'm done with the numbers, I get to the variables, which are the letters, the X's, the Y's, all those letters. So there's like an order in which we do all these things, right? Okay, sign, numbers, variables. Okay, good. Let's continue. A times A will give me A squared. B times B, B squared. Right? Okay. There's a minus there. That minus is an operation. Let me just put it there. It's fine. So I know that there's a positive inside. There's also a positive there inside. So I'm going to say positive times positive. Positive times positive will give me positive. The reason why I'm actually putting a bracket here is because mathematically you're not allowed to put two signs next to each other. You have to separate them using brackets. That's why I actually open a bracket there, because there's another plus there. Okay, it's fine. So 2 times 1 will give me 2. A times A times A will give me A squared. And then B times B. B times B gives me B squared, right? And then I'm not done. I am most certainly not done. And then I'm going to say negative times positive. Negative times positive gives me negative. So this will be negative 6a squared b squared minus, because negative times positive gives me a negative, right? So this will be 2a squared b squared, right? Now, we have to observe if these two are like terms or not, right? And then how do we determine that? We look at the variables that we have. On the left-hand side, I have 2 a's and then I have 2 b's. Perfect. 2 a's and 2 b's. On the right-hand side, I also have 2 a's, 2 b's. So that means that my variables are exactly the same. So if my variables are exactly the same, just as they are right now, you just combine the coefficients. So now, the coefficient there is minus 6, and then the coefficient there is minus 2. So minus 6 minus 2 will give me minus 8. Not forgetting to keep the what? The variables.